Great introduction. When we speak about inspirational speech, in the conventional approach of an inspirational speech, one can imagine something like this. There were many opportunities in my life that I have missed. And that was because sometimes I was too late and sometimes I was too early with all these opportunities. Now think about your lives and think about the opportunities that you missed. Were you ever early or late with your goals? Because that makes all the difference. One step too early, one step too late. That makes all the difference between winning and losing. That makes all the difference between living or dying. But I'm not going to do this speech. I don't find conventional speeches very sincere. Because they're outdated, they're a bit superficial, and this way of inspirational speech like change your life, be a better person, lose some weight, doesn't work anymore. What works in my opinion is you tell your personal stories, your experiences, because knowledge is accessible to everybody. So when you talk about your experiences and the lessons you learn from them, people can associate it with their own lives and then can say, yeah, that's right. In my life, as all of us, I have done a lot of mistakes and I've done a lot of good things. These four things are the main things that comes to my mind when I think about my mistakes and what I learned from them. These are modesty, spontaneity, resilience, resignation. Sorry about my bad handwriting, that's not one of my skills. But about modesty, these lessons I learned from my childhood to my adult life, and I'm still doing those mistakes and I'm learning from them. Modesty, when I was in the elementary school, I was like 10 years old. In my school we got these vouchers, so we could take them to the school cafeteria and eat our food. One day there was something wrong with printing the vouchers, so the secretary had to write them with her own hands. So 4 or 5 of us went to the secretary, and I knew the secretary personally. I don't remember how or why, but the other kids didn't. So I was thinking, yeah, she'll write my name first, and I'll go to the cafeteria, and I'll be the first one to eat. So we went to her table, and she was about to write my name, and then I said, yeah, of course she'll write my name. She knows me, so. And then she looked at me, and she said, no, I'm going to write you the last. And I was the last one, and then I was the last one to eat as well, just because I was cocky for no reason. This was a very tiny thing, but it taught me a big lesson, that I shouldn't be cocky, especially for the things that I do not deserve to be cocky. Because if you're very good at something, maybe cockiness, like not arrogantness, is cute even to some extent. But for things you don't deserve, such as, I don't know, being rich from family, etc., etc., if you're not modest about this, then you might be the last, even though you were about to be the first. Spontaneity. This is a very important lesson that I've learned all throughout my life. When I first entered university, I was a bit unconfident about myself. I mean, we all have unconfidences, but when I first entered university, I pretended to be someone that I wasn't, so people would like me. So I remember myself walking down the halls of the university like, and that was because I didn't feel secure enough, so I was pretending. Even like 3 years ago, I remember when I was doing my master's in Belgium, I remember walking down the street like this with my eyebrows up, just because I thought it would make me look cooler, seriously. But I just looked like a dumbass. I don't do this anymore, so that's And I was in the theater class of my university, and I got a role, because I mean, when you attend, you get a role, obviously. But there also, I pretended to be someone that I wasn't. I wasn't natural. Things weren't flowing through me. I didn't give the correct energy. And then that role was taken from me and given to someone else who could perform much better, because he was being himself. This was a huge disappointment for me, but it taught me a very good lesson. Be spontaneous and be yourself, whoever you are. Also, like when I was single, and when I wanted to date or go out to meet some girls, when I was pretending to be someone that I wasn't, it never worked. Like suit up, you know, speak with the girls like someone you're Brad Pitt or... But when I was myself, like dress whatever I want, acting natural, then it worked better. So I thought, yeah, why not be yourself instead of trying to be someone else? Resilience. These these were minor lessons, but I had a very big lesson recently. I started an enterprise, a hostel in Istanbul, and in 1 year I lost over 50,000 lira money. That was because of many factors. That was because I didn't do enough ground research. I was too confident with my abilities that I could turn the place around. I didn't assess the realities well enough, and all that. And that made me lose a big amount of money, which is a lot of money for me. But that taught me one thing. Well, actually 2 things. Well, be more careful when you start an enterprise. Secondly, I looked at my mistakes, and whatever I did wrong, instead of crying over spilled milk, because that was gone, so I wouldn't lock myself to my room and cry all my life. So I thought, what could I do better with all the lessons I learned? And there is this very nice saying, doesn't matter how many times you fall, it matters how many times you stand up and go on with the lessons you learn in your life. So that taught me resilience in a very harsh manner. Resignation. This is not the resignation kind of like, I quit, fuck you, resignation. No, this is not you.
I'm not like sick.
You look very fancy, so I thought you look like a CEO or something. This resignation is, this is quite opposite of resilience actually, but resilience is something, if you can change something, work for it with everything you learn. But when it comes to resignation, if you cannot change something, just resign yourself to it. Imagine yourself on the sea, and you're laying, and then this is resignation, trusting the sea and leaving yourself be. I'll give a very close example about that, a very recent example. Toastmasters. When I first entered Toastmaster, I also had this very confidence, like, yeah, I'll win all the awards, I'm a very good speaker, whatever, you know. And then I won one, I won the second, so like when they said, best prepared speaker, Perçin, so I was like, yeah, of course, give me that. And then in the third one, it was, I don't remember who won, so I'll give an example. So I was also on the list, and it was like, best prepared speaker, Rasi. And I was like, congratulations, Rasi. And in my mind, I was like, fuck, how did I lose? But then after a while...
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I was competing against Rasi, of course. But after I realized it's not about winning, or it's not about losing. It is about learning from the time you win, or from the time you lose. And that taught me resignation. Whenever I lost somewhere, like I'm a very competitive person, but then I learned, like after a while, things that are out of your control, either you're not ready enough, or you weren't lucky enough, or for a reason, so resign yourself, learn from that, get up, and keep going. I told you I'm not a fan of conventional speeches, because as I said, they're outdated and they're not sincere. But I'm a fan of stories and personal experiences. There is this very nice saying of David that I use in each opportunity. Stories are very important because it's in our genes. From the medieval times, from the prehistoric times, people were telling each other stories, and that's one of the best ways to inspire people to tell their own stories and stories of others. That's why I was very impressed when Necil gave his speech about his friends. That's why I was very impressed when I heard your stories. And that was the time that I could learn the most. And that's why I tried to inspire you. I tried to be inspired, and I tried to be inspiring by telling my stories. I'm not a fan of conventional speeches, but I'm a fan of quotes. And there are a lot of quotes that I like. But in this circumstance, in this opportunity, I would like to use a quote of Mevlana. I mean, all Turkish people know it, and most of the foreigners might know him as well. He's a very famous philosopher. And he says, either appear as you are, or be as you appear, which means either be natural, or if you're pretending that you're someone, keep on pretending. But I'm going to end my speech by disagreeing with Mevlana, because I think you shouldn't pretend to be someone else or be consistent. Just be yourself, appear as you are, take that energy, give that energy, and then you'll find true happiness and content in your heart. Thank you very much.